welcome to the live stream. I'm hoping to be doing some more of these lately, so this will be fun, especially as we prep and prepare for our different workshops coming up. And so I'm excited about this one. This one will be with this particular model. Her name is Delaney, and we're going to be drawing her on pastel mat. So I've got some sample cards here of pastel mat, and so I'm going to test some colors tonight, just looking at the reference and trying to determine what we'll make a decision on regarding colors and properties of pencils, like which pencil brand and type will we be using. The other thing that I'm thinking about doing is using Inktense as a base layer before we begin putting colored pencil on top. So we did that about a year ago when we worked on Rugged Ranger, and it's hard to believe, but we have come full circle, and we've only done a few, maybe what are we on, 5 or 6 or 7? I'm losing count now of which No Stroke Left Behind workshop we're on now, but we started last year about this time, about the time that we'll be starting this one. So this will be Sunset Cowgirl, and we're going to be drawing it on pastel mat. It starts on August the 3rd, and it will run through September the 7th, and we'll be drawing on Tuesday and Thursday nights from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So those are the times. So if you've not joined us yet, there are a few early bird seats still left. If you want to go ahead and take advantage of that, then I would recommend doing that. Okay. Make sure that audio is still working. I think it is, so should be good to go there. All right, we'll get some pencils put out here, and we will start the testing process. Okay, looks like you guys are still able to hear me. All right. So here's what I like to do. I like to print out 2 versions often where, maybe the first version, I've got a little bit of a border around it, and that way I can just put the pencils directly on the border with some of these colors that I'm seeing in the composition. I can just test directly on the paper itself. And then as you start getting closer to some of the pencil colors that you're going to gravitate towards, then I like to have it go completely to the edge and print out a borderless and put a sample card right behind there and just start drawing on that card just to see how close we can get to that color. If the color matters to you, color doesn't always matter, right? You can make up your own colors, right? So, all right, so want to look at, let's start with something easier, that cowboy hat. And to me, that represents like an olive kind of green. That's a green that is more, it's dark, but it's more of this warm green. We're going in the opposite direction of getting this turquoise look, but instead we're getting more earthy. So we want a green that has a little more yellow in it. And just pull a few pencils here. Take a look. We've got here. So just grabbed about 4. About 4 might work. And I want to kind of narrow it down typically to around 2 or 3. And then you can make some decisions after that to make it even narrower, if you need to, make it even more narrow, to something that represents the local color. What is that base color without any kind of influence of light or atmosphere or anything like that. So I've got a few different brands here, 3 different brands. I've got Forest in Derwent Lightfast. I've got Olive Earth in Derwent Lightfast. And I've got Dark Phthalocyanine green in Luminance. And then I've got Polychromos. I've got green, olive, yellowish. So let me just do this. Let me just put a little tiny bit of color. Let me zoom in here. You can see this really well. Put a little bit of color up there. And then I'll just stick that down here in my tray. Go on to the next one. This is Olive Earth. Oh, that's a really close match right there. That one's nice. And I'm going to switch over to the Polychromos. That's very nice. And I like the yellow in that one, really. And let's go with that dark Phthalocyanine green in Luminance. This one might be a little dark. Oh, wow, that one's really great. Fade that out just a little bit down here just to see what kind of variation we can get. Actually, those two together might be a great way to go. The Polychromos and the Luminance pencils. So let's do this. I'll flip this around, zoom back out a little bit. You can see this better. Actually, let me do this. I'll stick it up there. And let me pull my board up here so you can see this. And tape this sample card up here. This is some of the darkest areas right over here. And then we'll fade away from that area. So we just get a nice good sample of that green here. And then fade into the white of the paper. Take a look at that, see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to use my Polychromos and do the same thing right on top. I do like to mix both wax-based and oil-based pencils together, so mostly Polychromos and Luminance pencils together. Oh, very nice. That is very nice. And then if you could add a little bit of solvent to that, blend that together, even dry brush blending right now will give us a real good sense of that saturation and that blending of those two pencils together. We can see that a little bit easier. And then, of course, you know, as you get into some of the other areas that are influenced by a little bit of distance and atmosphere and some fading of that true local color, then you know we would want to probably add different colors over there. Okay, so let me just keep that there, and I will do a little bit of color testing over here on the sky. So I grabbed Ultramarine Violet, pencil I really love. And I know it's going to be probably a little too violet. We can mix something with it. Really get us closer to what we're looking at here. I'm going to grab Gonna grab my light cobalt blue, mix that with it. There's a, whoops, I'm off the frame. Let me pull that down a little bit. So if you compare that, you look at this color and you compare that to what I have on the page there, then you'll notice that this area has a little more blue in it. We've got more red over here in the ultramarine violet. So let's go in this direction, and I'll add more blue here, and then I'll go into the violet, mix that together. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, we're getting closer there, and got a little influence of some atmosphere, some smokiness, right? So I'm going to grab a Cold Gray 2 Polychromos. I want to add that to the entire swatch. Okay, look at that. That is nearly perfect right there. Okay, and then you could have some variation even in that. I'm thinking about luminance white and maybe even buff titanium right in there. A little, just a tiny, tiny little hint of a warmer white, warmer color. The buff titanium, maybe even ivory would work in polychromos. Let's just try that. Put a little tiny bit of ivory in polychromos. It might be too much yellow. It might be just right. And I'm going to put white down here for some of the variation that we'll see. And actually, pink white might be a great one as we get close down here to our pink colors as we move into that blending right there. So let's take a look at that. That's really nice. Really, really nice. I love that. Awesome. Okay. Here's my buff titanium. Here it is. So I'm going to put that in there and just see. That looks like slightly lighter, I'm sure. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. That gives us several options then to go with right there. All right. So now let me do this. Let's take a look at this pink color. Oh, and by the way, so this green down here, I think probably what we can do, because I created this. So for those that may not know, I haven't said a whole lot about this, but on this subject anyway, itself, like when you're looking at our model here, actually the braid was on the other side with this pose. I like the position of the head. I like the downcast of the eyes. There was another image that I took of my model, and when I was photographing her, and the braid was on this side. So I took that and stuck that braid on this image because I like the position of the head. And then I made up a background inside of Procreate. But I think it's going to work for what we want to do here. That's not the image I wanted. I wanted this one. Okay. So if we look at this, I picked a tone that was similar to the hat. What I did. You guys still with me here? Who's excited about this workshop? Let me know if you're excited about it. Even if you haven't signed up, that's fine. I want to know if you're excited about it anyway. I know those of you that signed up, and honestly, we're almost out of the early bird seats. So if you've not signed up, then you'll want to do that if you're on my email list. If you're not on my email list, then what you'll want to do is just email me and let me know that you're interested. So there's my email address if you want to do that. Okay, so let's grab a very faint green over here. Just get enough of a swatch here. And what would we put with that? Awesome, D. Yeah, cool. Okay. You know what? I think we could put a little bit of pink in there. So I'm going to go with pink white. I want to see what that looks like at least initially. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. So if I do that up here, and maybe buff titanium might be a better option. Hint of yellow rather than. No, I like the pink in there with that color. So, and look how saturated that becomes. Very nice, really. Okay. Great to see your color picking process. All right, Catherine. Thank you. Thanks for being out here, guys. Appreciate you being here too. And yeah, so I'm always fascinated with just trying to find out what colors are going to work with the composition. I think it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's scoot this over and let's look at this pink right here. So pinks are always a tricky thing, right, in colored pencil. I grabbed a ton of, it's not a true pink, right? So we've got a whole lot of a red and yellow, yellow influence with red, right? That's what we've got going on here. So I'm going to grab salmon in Derwent Lightfast. I'm going to grab apricot in Luminance. Beige red in Polychromos. I hope I'm holding up these close enough to the camera. Coral, let it focus here for a second. Coral in Polychromos. And then one that I love that I don't know that a lot of people use this. I think many artists have gotten away from it, but it's anthraquinone pink in Luminance, which is a great color. This one is, let that focus for a second. There we go. This one is 571 in Luminance, but you'll see in a moment what it looks like. I think it's a great color. And let's see. I think that's about it. I did throw this one in the mix as well. I want to look at it and see what it looks like with this combination. So this is burnt sienna 10%. So it's 662, I believe, or 862. That's what it is. Okay. This one's going to be a little bit dark, but I thought it might be a nice transition right in here. Just a soft transition in between our violet and our pink. Okay, that's what that's for. So I think that'll work. I pretty much know that will work because, and you may need to put a little bit of white, pink white with it. But that's the nature of that type of burnt sienna color in Luminance. Okay, let's try the one I'm suspecting will work. I may be totally wrong, but I think this one might work. And even if it doesn't work, I may use this one anyway. It's just such a nice color. It's a great color on skin, but it's also a nice color for sunsets. Okay, it's a little, let me zoom in here. A little saturated, obviously. We're working with very muted colors. So let me do this. Let me grab beige red in Polychromos. I'll sharpen that one up real quick. Okay. Let me put that on top. Oh, that's going to be too dark still, but we're less saturated now. So less red. And let me put pink white in there. I think that would probably do it. There's white. There's pink white. Okay. Start with pink white up here. And just crossfade that. do this multicolored fade, as I like to call it, into the other colors here. So start out with more pressure, and then ease up on the pressure as I get closer to the back of this little swatch. Let's see what that looks like. Very nice. That's a good one right there. That's very good. Okay. I think that's a good way to go, is using that those two together actually would probably do it. Anthraquinone carmine and pink white. I think those would really do the trick. And depending on where you are in the sunset, you could probably use a little tiny influence of apricot, depending on where you're from, and put that down. And that might be nice. And then perhaps you wanted a little influence of more yellow in there, and smooth that out, perhaps with ivory in polychromos. Be a great way to go. All right, let's put that all up next to there. That's so good. I like that. All right. I think we... oh, the hair. That's right. We were going to do the hair. Okay. Now, skin tone, I'm not worried about. Skin tone, I pretty much can tell what we're probably going to use on the skin tone. And if you've been following me for a while, you probably know what I'm going to use as well. So, all right, but let's look at that hair for a second. So this is blonde hair. Okay, she's got light brown hair with a little bit of blonde in it. Okay, and so my thought process is, so often what we're wanting to do is differentiate the color. The tone is going to be very, very similar to the skin, right? But the little nuance in there is we're going to have more pink in the skin, and we're going to have more ochre in the hair. Okay, if we've got blonde hair or light brown hair, then we're going to have a little more influence of orange, and a little more influence, so more yellow and red in the hair, so orange, and then we're going to have more red in the skin. Okay, so I'm going to start here with burnt ochre 50%. Let's see where this ends up. Put it right in here, I guess. Let's make a darker swatch back here, then make it lighter as I move away from there. Make this a little bit darker. Let's take a look at that. Would be good right up here, looks like. So that would be a good color to use. I will hang on to that. All right, and then in some more muted areas, like when we get down into, whoops, getting off the frame here. We get down into these areas of the hair, then we will switch over probably and start incorporating more of a muted color. So this is a great one to use. This is Warm Earth 40%. I'll just put a little bit of that right there. But you can also make that slightly more orange, more red and yellow together. So I'm going to use probably this terracotta. It's a great pencil. You can just see how that changes that quite a bit. And you can pull out some highlights in there with ivory. And then if you're looking at it and you think it's getting a little bit too orange, you can come back in here. Come back in here with Warm Earth 70%. Okay. Darken that up a little bit. And then another good one to use, I'll stick this over here. Small swatch of some dark value. Dark values right there. And then if I can grab that, if I can find it here. Thought I had it around here somewhere. What I'm looking for is brown ochre. Brown ochre 10% and 50%. But here's a brown ochre 10%. I'll put it down here. You'll see how that influences that. I'll even put some over here. And go on top of this now with more of that 70, or I'm sorry, the 40%. And then we'll go right on top of that. Might need a little more hint of orange right in there. Okay, let's take a look at those colors together. Actually, that's pretty nice. Pretty nice. All right, I like that. I don't know why we ended up so far over here in the corner. Sorry about that. There we go. How about that? You see that a little easier? I think that's better. And you can pull those highlights out with ivory or white or, you know, whatever. I like that. So it looks like this may be the stack right here. And obviously, the more colors that you have in hair, the better off you are. Because you can always eliminate some. Dropped one. Grab that before it gets away from me. You can always eliminate, you know, some of those later on. But you're better off starting with more colors than what you think you need, and then narrowing that down. I like to start with more than I think I need. And when you compare the cowboy hat to the hair, you're talking about a whole lot of variation in that hair. Not as much variation within small, tight areas in the cowboy hat, right? So, yeah, you want to have more than you need at the beginning. But then you narrow your focus, narrow that down to 2 or 3 as your local color right in there. Great technique, John. You are the best. Thanks, D. You stole my saying there. That's my saying. I always say you're the best. The girls, my daughters always tease me about that and say that that's my saying. You're the best. Thanks for being out here. Thanks for joining us. So, all right, questions. I want to open it up to any questions at all. If you've got any questions about the workshop coming up, any questions about color matching, surface, best pencil types to use. And I had mentioned I'm probably going to be using some Inktense pencils and probably the Inktense blocks a little bit on this. So I think that'll make it fun. Just getting a base coat layer of Inktense on your project is a great way to go, because you get so much coverage so quickly. And then you can go on top with your wax and oil-based pencils and use solvent even on top of that. And that's where you're going to be able to get these nice, smooth transitions in between colors. That's what you can do whenever you start working with blending those pencils together. And you do it so much faster when you do that. So makes it nice. Right. So open up for any questions here, and then we will get going. I will let you guys go. But yeah, just reiterate one more time that the workshop will be beginning here in this first week. I'm grabbing the link real quick. That's why I'm stuttering here. First week in there we go. So I put it in the chat there. First week in August, and then we will be going through, I think it's the 7th of September. So all right, and there's the link in case you're interested. And wait, did it give me the link? Let me put the link in there. I think actually Restream puts something else, not what I wanted really. Not sure what it did, but anyway, I did put the link in there if you are interested. So, well, that does give me the link right there. So there is one more day. I just do want to say that before we go, though. There's one more day left to sign up and get the early bird discount. Okay, if you price this out for what you're getting per hour, if you're a person that thinks of things per hour, then this is a very economical way of learning colored pencil and starting with very beginner level techniques even, and then we move on into more intermediate and advanced techniques. But I teach fundamental drawing as we're moving along, and I teach you to try to think about the whole object model as we're working on the portrait, and not just isolating this and relegating it to a paint by number. Okay, nothing wrong with that, but I like to help you to see this and see it for what it is, as an object that rests and exists in time and space, rather than a flat image, two-dimensional image that we're just replicating from a photograph. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's a fine way to do things. But sometimes you just want to kind of understand portraiture just a little bit more. And so that's what we're doing, and I'm teaching you how to think three-dimensionally about your subject and how to render things as though you were a sculpturist. Okay, so that's the way we're teaching this, and but we start out very basic and just gradually moving beyond that. Okay, throughout the workshop. You get live critiques during the workshop. We have class time set aside for that. And then you get lifetime access to the course. You have recordings immediately each night after the course is done. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. And if there's no other questions, I guess I will let you guys go. Reach out to me anytime. I put my email in the stream there. And I will see many of you starting in a few weeks then, I guess, in the workshop. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.